think about last week's lesson. Can anybody remember the name of it? The title, the topic for last week?
Power of assumption.
Okay, it was more than one. It was multiple topics. So you're saying some of it.
Agitation.
Why prayer fails. Failure. Yeah, it's all of that you're saying. We had about 3 lines of topics. But why, the reason prayer fails was essentially the overall theme. But we are using an anchoring theme, named for the theme that will carry us through several topics. This will be part 2 of the law of assumption. The law of assumption, and the first topic under that theme is the reason prayer fails. This is taken from what book?
The Essential Collection. Neville.
In that collection, the specific book is The Power of Awareness. So the Essential Collection is a compilation or a collection of books in this one combined book that we're using, and there are about 8 books in that one book, that compilation. And the last chapter, I believe, not the last chapter, the last book of that collection, I think, is The Power of Awareness. I know it's The Power of Awareness. I'm not sure what number it is in the order of the book. But that's the book that we're working from by Neville, The Power of Awareness. And in it, he is, in chapter 24 of that book, the title of that chapter is the reason, it's just one singular word. The title of that chapter is failure. And he's explaining why prayer fails. And he said there's only one reason. The essential reason is what? And now I'm going to come around because I want to find out what was the main point or idea you got from last week. How did it help you? If there's anything that needs to be clarified. But be brief, and we will see who wants to share or ask a question about it.
The main reason is that we can't see ourselves with the demonstration. We don't see it as really us. And that's why it failed. All the praying that we do and all the stuff, if we're not really owning it, we don't have it. And that's it.
Yeah. So essentially, he is saying that there's only one reason, and that is because we're not successful in the application, use of doing the law of assumption. And that is it. The law of assumption, getting into, well, think about the word assumption. What do you mean? Meditate on assumption. What's the root word in assumption? Assume. And to assume means to get into it. You know, assume, or take it on. Assume, take it on. Assume, take it on. Take on the life of the thing. And he uses one word in describing, or his description of the life of the thing is the description of, not the description, I was looking at Jim, I got confused. The naturalness, the word he uses, naturalness. The naturalness of the thing, the nature of it. The nature of it, the naturalness of it, the life of it, assume. So it is the law of it is in the law of assumption where we fail. And so what we do is take our time to then I had a illustration board here up last week. Do you remember what was written up there? Explain what was written and why. Can anybody take us through that? Okay. I started off with one of the top lines was the law of assumption. So we started off by talking about elaborating on what the law means. The word law means. The law of. How to. The law of how to do it. The law, not only does it mean how to do it, but it is the law is a blanket. And in it, That's the idea, that's the belief, that's the term, but how do we apply it, how we do it through principles? Remember I said that? Which essentially means steps, the method, the strategy. And so all of these topics that we play with week to week are just methods, strategy, how, the way, using principles. One of the principles that we're starting off with is the principle of fasting. Remember? The principle. Fasting is a healing principle towards the application and the use of, the demonstrating, the putting into effect, the practicing the law. And there's a number of principles, a lot of principles, steps. And in all of this, what we're doing is living this thing that we call God as and through imagination. 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 The law of assumption is the overall theme. And we will be on it for several topics. Last week was the first topic, and that was the reason prayers fail, or the reason prayer fails. And today our topic is the empty lot. Does anybody remember us talking about the empty lot? Just raise your hands. Look around. Raise them higher again. I'm not going to ask you a question. The empty lot we've talked about already, so we're going to revisit a lesson and a pass-out that we covered some time ago when we were talking about Neville's story of his grandparent. You remember when he was standing in front of this empty lot? Here's what we want you to get. Now, all of this is helping us to succeed in the application of the law of assumption. This is just a principle. This is just a method. This is a strategy in accomplishing that. The law of assumption. All right? And recall what he said about the empty lot. And remember the topic, I remember when? It's coming from that lesson. I remember when. You heard it before. Let's get into that flow. Let's get into that feeling of I remember when. You got to say it with me. Come on. I remember when. I remember when. Once more. I remember when. This is the, oh yeah. I remember when. This is your meditation stuff. This is your meditation. This is the assumption in action. This is walking in the assumption. This is helping you to stay in the assumption, the naturalness, the feeling of your prayer request, your aspiration, the thing that you're reaching towards, that you want to manifest and express, let express through you. I remember when means that it's already happened. It happened before. And you're remembering when. You see what I'm saying? I remember when takes you out of the past and brings you into the present. I remember when implies past. No. It's all, I would think about it. I remember when means that you're remembering from now. From the present and from what has happened, you're remembering when you were sick. I remember when I was angry. I remember when I couldn't walk. I remember when I couldn't find my way. I couldn't see my way out. I remember when you wouldn't talk to me. I remember when I used to worry. I remember when I couldn't sleep. I remember when. That's what we did last year. We revisited. But then
this time there was more information and more lessons and more juice in that lesson that we're squeezing out. But because he talked about that empty lot. What you're leaving here with today is how to stand in front of your empty lot and remember when it was empty, but you see a building on it now. And you're going up and down the elevator on it. And you're looking out and see the view of the ocean from the 56th floor. That's what his grandfather did. He stood in front of an empty lot and said to the people around him, I remember when this was an empty lot. And the man is standing there looking at an empty lot, talking about, I remember when it was an empty lot. And what followed after that, sometime later, it was no longer an empty lot. His building was on that empty lot established. Y'all are supposed to be some peculiar people who believe stuff like that. I do. Yeah. Let's read it. But here's another principle that we're applying as an overarching thing. And it's fasting. See, fasting helps you stay centered in your stand while you're looking at this empty lot. Declaring and calling forth those things which be not as though they were. Fasting helps you do it. Please take out your forms on fasting. I pray and I fast. I don't stop. I don't give up. I don't quit. What is impossible for men is possible with God. This time goeth not out except by prayer and fasting. And so, like this, I fast. I resist the habit of living in feelings from the past. I live only in the present. I refrain from talking about the past, realizing that my every word is created now. I refuse to allow the talk of others to cause me to see what does not exist. I dismiss all negative, silent chatter in my mind, and I give it no time to take root. I stop my mind from seeing the glass half empty, but I see the glass always half full instead. I avoid places, situations, and things that create negative energy in my space. I eliminate people from my life who knowingly hurt me physically or mentally. I terminate conversations with others quickly who speak disparagingly of others. I wipe my slate clean as I forgive and release the bitter deeds and words of others. I purge my mind of guilt and memories of words or deeds that may have hurt others. I rebuff any and all thoughts that I know hinder my spiritual unfolding. I pluck out of my own eye and heart the desire or need to judge any person at all. I negate ideas I hear from the media and from any source that I know are not true. I cancel spoken words and statements that I know are not nice, kind, loving, and true. I reject all foods, drugs, and substances that I know are detrimental in any way. I deny myself of immoral, unethical, and unhealthy indulgences and behaviors that may give me pleasure, excitement, or sensational fulfillment, but at the same time leave me feeling embarrassment, shame, unclean, or guilty after the experience. I clean my environment of all images that tempt me to make wrong choices, which could sabotage my dream, success, or prayer demonstration. I expunge immediately any thought that may represent cynicism, downheartedness, despondency, pessimism, bleakness, gloominess, desperation, or hopelessness. I am a child of God. I know this, and that is all that matters. I train my mind to think only on God, to know only God as cause, for God is all there is. All there is God, and so, like this, I fast, and so it is.
The reason that we want to revisit that daily, often, regularly, because it's like a walking self-diagnostic to remind you. That's what fasting is. Fasting is remembering all of this. Practicing all of this. Now what I found this in dealing with a person between last week and this week, and I'm listening to this person talk, and who knows this stuff. And I could see that the person was taking a break. We excuse ourselves. We take the liberty to go in and out of this. And here you are standing in front of the empty lot. Don't work that way. Now, if you are unconsciously slipping, making slips, well, that's one thing. But deliberately, intentionally, knowingly, we need to check ourselves from Tuesday to Tuesday. And I said last week, very clearly, listen to the end of the message. Very clearly all through, but specifically at the end of the message. Remember when I said, spit hit the fan? You remember when I said that? It was very descriptive. And in the reading last week, it let you know that this thing, desire fulfills itself. Remember we said that. The desire fulfills itself. The desire, the prayer request. Once you enter into the naturalness of it, once you are meditating, you get into it and it clicks and you successfully hit it. It takes on a life of its own, and then things begin to happen.
Yes.
It unfolds, it evolves through every moment of the day. Every day in every way I am getting better and better. Well, life is unfolding. That's the prayer. That's the request. That's the desire unfolding. And it does it through relationships. It does it through experiences. It does it through stuff. It does it through joyous experiences. And let your mind get all... Do you see what we're saying? Mm-hmm. This helps you keep that mind.
Yes.
Read this. Recite this.
Yes.
Let it take you back to this. So now look at your pass out. This is from the same lesson. But now this particular book that this comes from by Neville is not in the book that you have. This is not from The Power of Awareness. This is not from that collection. There's a book that's called the Neville Goddard Collection. It's confusing, but there's another book by Neville, and it's called the Neville Goddard Collection. It's another collection, and in that book, there's a chapter on Believe It In. Remember we did 3 weeks on Believe It In? So we're revisiting Believe It In, and that's where the topic was, I remember when. And he says the most creative thing in you is to enter a state and believe it into being. This is assumption. This is how to assume, how to get into that assumption. Assumption means to believe it in.
believe it in. And what he is saying here, I'll probably get ahead of myself, but he is saying here is that everything that you experience in life right now, on every level of your life, you have believed it in your life. And anything that you have believed in, you have the power to believe it out. And anything that you're not experiencing that you desire, through the power of imagination, which is God in you, you can believe it in. The whole vast world is now in your human imagination, and you can bring any desire out of it, out of your imagination, by believing it into being. First, you must know what you want. Then, create an image that fulfills it. When grandfather was standing in front of that empty lot, he was creating an image of what he wanted. And once you move into the naturalness in that instant, all it takes is an instant, it takes over and fulfills itself. This is what we got to get and hold on to. I have ways that you know not of. My ways are beyond finding out. You ain't got no money. Who told you you needed it? You just got 20, 30 days left, so what? I got one instant. The objective of this world, now what he is saying here is that all outer things in this world, that's what he means by the objective. Anything on the outer, the objective of this world is solely, and solely means what? Only. Is solely produced by the human imagination in which all things exist. Everything that you experience in life comes out of imagination. Yours or somebody else's. He was in the middle of a talk when this was given. He was talking to a group one night, and this is a transcript of it. He says, "Tonight I hope to show you how to subjectively," that means in a prayerful state of mind, "appropriate that which already exists in you and turn it into an objective fact." Well, what is already in you in this context? What is already in you is your prayer request, is your prayer desire, is your project, is your aspiration. Is it something that you want to change? Is it something that you want to get rid of? Something that you want to heal? Something that you want to eliminate? Something that you want to attract? Something that you want to be, to become? Whatever it is, whatsoever things you desire when you pray. That's what he's talking about. It doesn't matter how much it costs. It doesn't matter what your financial profile is. It doesn't matter how long you've had it, how grave it is, how serious it is, how incurable it is, how impossible it is. That means everything. How to subjectively, through prayer, appropriate that which already, that I just said, that's already within you. If it came to your mind as a desire, it's already in you. If you're requesting it, it's already in you. If you have a need, it's already in you. The answer is already, the problem comes with the answer. The need comes with its own design of solution. Haven't we said this over and over and over? This year is the pedal to the metal. It's doing it. Your life is nothing more than the outpicturing of your imaginal activity, for your imagination fulfills itself in what your life becomes. Now, in what your life becomes, that's why you got to stay anchored in this I fast. Because the prayer request, the need for the healing, the answer to whatever it is that you're praying for, that's your life becoming. That's your life. That is your life. That's what's happening 24 all through the day. As I told you last week, when you leave here today, that prayer is in action. The thing is evolving, manifesting, expressing itself through the first person that you see in your house today. Out in the market. On whatever. You got to watch and pray. He said, let your words be yea, yea, and nay, nay. You need to learn to shut up. And accept and embrace. Be careful what you see. It's up to you to what you see. It's up to you to what you hear. You don't have to hear what other people hear, and you don't have to see what other people see, and you don't have to see what that fool is seeing or saying or hearing. To say I am going to be rich will not make it happen. He says you must believe riches in, believe it in by claiming within yourself, I am rich. You must believe in the present tense, not going to be. Because the active creative power that you are is God. Now claim what you want to be aware of here and now. And although your reasonable mind denies it and your senses deny it, if you will assume it with feeling, your inward activity, established and perpetuated, will objectify itself. Will objectify itself. Will objectify itself in the outside world. Don't need your help. It just needs your help doing this. It does the rest. So that it can do the rest. He says, to attempt to change the circumstances of your life before you change its imaginal activity is to labor in vain. You can believe anything in if you will not accept the facts your senses dictate. For nothing is impossible to imagine, and imagining persisted and believed in will create its own reality. Do you see how he keeps repeating that? It will create its own reality. Your desire for a home, your need for this or that, the desire knows how to manifest itself, but what stops it? You're not staying in that assumption and getting distracted with minutia and drama. 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 Do you know some people are addicted to drama? And that is their life. They live in that. And then, so you have to know how to put on your prophylactic. Holy God. You gotta wear it tight. Oh yeah, tight. Because it's gonna happen. If you are involved with another human being in your life, they gotta come in. They come with drama. Now here you go. Get right engaged in it, and you got something in the oven. Trying to reach that 450, and they keep bringing it down to 375. Sometimes all the way down to 200, just a symbol. And it never reaches that 450. Why? Because you get right into it. You got to participate. And you got to see what they are seeing and hear what they are hearing, feel what they are feeling, and yet you're standing in front of the empty lot and wondering, why won't that building go up? Other people's drama. Your imagination is an actual body in which everything is contained. When you imagine the thing itself, when you imagine the thing itself comes out of that divine body. A few years ago, this vision was mine. Okay, here's our close. It's a long close. But this is it. We're getting ready to go into this empty lot. A few years ago, this is Neville talking, the author of the book. I was taken in spirit into one of the early mansions on Fifth Avenue in New York City at the turn of the century. Can you imagine New York City at the turn of the century?
No.
Didn't have metro. Can you imagine what the transportation like? Can you imagine all of the empty space? You know, there was all those buildings were not there. He says, as I entered into this vision, I saw that 3 generations were present. And I heard the eldest man telling the others of their grandfather's secret. Grandfather used to say, he was telling them, while standing on an empty lot, this is what grandfather would say. While standing in front of an empty lot. I remember when this was an empty lot. Okay, that's grandfather's secret. We're practicing this secret. Then he would say, he would paint a word picture of what he wanted to build there. He's using his imagination. He saw it how? Vividly. In his mind's eye as he spoke. And in time, that building was established. He was using his imagination, and this was grandfather's secret. Grandfather was a successful builder of buildings in early New York City. He went through life in that manner, objectively realizing what he had at first subjectively claimed. Objectively realizing, expressing on the outer what he had on the inner in his imagination claimed, in his imagination he had assumed and taken on the consciousness of it, the realization, the reality of it, the feeling of it, the naturalness of it in the now. I tell you, Neville says, everything in your world was first subjectively appropriated. I don't care what it is. So that means I don't care what it is. That too. I don't care what it is. If you are experiencing it now, it has been subjectively accepted somewhere, somehow in your consciousness. And you know you can be influenced by others around you.
Yes.
Desire can be your empty lot. So this is where we stop right now and put yourself into this and get into the practice of this. And this is how you're going to pray, not changing anything that you have done, but you're being empowered now through understanding with more depth and more feeling about what you are already done and what you've been doing all along. This is nothing new. You're not learning something new to do today. You're getting a deeper understanding of what you're already doing. And you're being empowered, and you're strengthening your muscles. Does that make sense?
Yes.
You're not hearing anything new, and you're you're not going to start doing anything, and you're going to keep on doing what you're doing, but you're going deeper into your understanding and your empowerment of what you're doing, and you're accelerating the end of your desire. Manifest. Oh yeah, you understand it. Ooh. Where are we? Now, he says, desire can be your empty lot, where you may stand, remembering when that which you now have was only a desire. So, break it down. So think about something that you're praying for, praying about, trying to manifest, trying to limit, whatever it is, fill in the blank. That is your desire. So going forward, that desire, you have to see it as your empty lot. So y'all got to give me a raise because I meditated on this from last Tuesday to this Tuesday to get this with this feeling to bring it to you. Every night I've been on this. Every morning I've been on this. You know, I saw it. I've been seeing this all the time. But you know, hey, yeah, when you get it a different way or a different level, it's different. I can convey it more clearly than before because I'm deeper into it. I'm into the deep water of it. Catch this. Your desire is your empty lot in prayer. So when you're standing in front of your empty lot, that empty lot right now is your problem, your whatever you see, but you want to replace it with the healing, the health, whatever you want to replace. You want something to be established on that empty lot that is not there now, in the physical, in the outer world, right? Now you're going to go in and out with this, because I went in and out with this, in and out until I got it and nailed it down. So you have to listen to you have to practice this until you get it. Because you can hear it now and not know it. Oprah said that she was talking to Maya Angelou. And you know, she knows a lot, right, Oprah? She knows a lot. And so she said to Maya Angelou, oh, I know that. I know that. Oh, Maya's response was, no, you heard it. You don't know it. You heard it. You don't know it. You heard it, but you don't know it. Up until now, what I'm talking about, you have heard it, but you don't know it. And what you're getting today is that you're getting into the knowing of it. See, you stand in front of your empty lot, that's the problem. Now you want it replaced by something, that's the answer. Now what you're going to do is remember when it was an empty lot. Come on, children. Let's reread it. Desire can be your empty lot, where you may stand remembering when that which you now have was only a desire. It's not a desire now. It's your healing. It's your answer. It's your thing come to pass, fulfilled. If I now say, for example, Neville said, because he was meeting in different places and locations, he said, if I now say, I remember when I lectured at the Women's Club in LA, I am implying I am no longer there and am where I want to be. So he says, I remember when I was at the Women's Club in LA. So if I say that, I am implying I am no longer there and am where I want to be. Catch that? Another example, he says, I remember when you were sick. How do I do that? He says, by taking you out of sickness and placing you in that state of health. Through life, haven't you had the experience of being around a person in your life somewhere along the road who didn't see you as you saw yourself? Who didn't see you as being where you were going? Parents do that to children, right? In life, haven't there been people, because y'all got gray hair up in here, who has come back to tell you what an impact you had on their life and where they wouldn't have been and where they would have been had it not been for you? That's because this right here. I remember when you were sick, by taking you out of sickness and placing you in the state of health. Because you didn't see what they saw for themselves and you saw otherwise, and it was your seeing that took them out of that danger, out of that risk, out of that wrong way. And right now you can be seeing a person where they see themselves. And you're collaborating with their demise. That's why I say you need to stay anchored in this. Because you can get distracted and caught up in drama, which is going to cancel out your stuff. Because it's not what it appears to be. And you're going along in that vibration with it. It ain't what it seems. It's not what it appears. Just because it's affecting you emotionally and messing with your stuff that has, and the only value and meaning of that stuff is what you give it. It's nothing. He says, the words I remember when it was a struggle to live on my monthly, giving you another example. I remember when it was a struggle to live on my monthly income implies you have transcended that limitation. I remember when it was a struggle means that you're no longer in that struggle. These changes, transformations, transcendencies, suspensions happen in a moment, in a twinkling of an eye. In a twinkling of an eye, it happens. Can you hold on to it? Fasting helps you to, you know what fasting we're talking about, helps you to hold and stay in that. You can put yourself into any state by remembering when. That's our topic, I remembering when. But we're making the working topic today the empty lot. Can you leave here today practicing this empty lot?
Yes.
That's what you learned today. Is how to see your prayer request, whatever you're doing, as that empty lot. Stand in front of that empty lot and declare on that empty lot what you can get into the feeling of, the naturalness of, and what you can call forth. That's the health out of sickness. That is the demonstration of whatever it is that you're working for. That is what you see now on that empty lot. And that desire knows how to fulfill itself. Bring itself into realization, into expression in your life. And the only help it needs from you is this. Stay out of its way through your drama and other people's drama. Someone tried to bring their drama into my life, and you know what I said? Need to find some time to go eat. Eat. Because people like to eat. You get their attention, you put something to feed them. And they'll listen. But you got to get out of your environment, go out and sit down and talk. So I had to kind of let the person know that, you know what, I'm working on something. And it's far more important than this stuff you're talking about. And the stuff that you're talking about does not have the same meaning to me that it has to you. That's why it doesn't upset me in my environment, but you keep bringing that back to my life. But I just want to let you know that I'm working on something here. And I don't need that, and I cannot deal with that. I don't have an opinion about it. It don't mean nothing to me. Can you understand that? Rather than all that unnecessary chat to, I don't, and I say, and this I do not want to talk about anymore, because it doesn't have anything to do with me. And how you see that that has something to do with me, I'm not even trying to figure that out. I don't mean it to me. And for some reason, you think that ought to be important to me. I remember when you were unknown implies you are now known. Right. That was the secret of grandfather's success. God in you, so skip down here. You can remember when your friend expressed her desire to be married by remembering when she was single. You are persuading yourself that your friend is no longer in that state, as you have moved her from one state into another. Only you can make a state become alive. You must enter a state and animate it in order for it to outpicture itself in your world. So I tell you, the most creative thing in you is to enter a state and believe it into being. Without rattling your papers, please put them aside. Be still and let's pray. And let's just give thanks. Oh yeah. Let's move together and see ourselves standing together right now. And look at what you see before you and see what I see. I see an empty lot. Oh yeah. You see your empty lot. And let it represent that thing that you're praying for, that you're praying about. If there's a sickness in the body, or you're praying for someone else, this can be your empty lot. Let's say that it's a material need, whether it's money or housing, transportation, employment, food, it doesn't matter. Any kind of provision on earth. Let's see that empty lot as a need for a healing in a relationship that somebody lives in a human body in this side of the realm. Relative, friend, social relationship, whatever. A need for a healing. Let's see that empty lot as whatever it is that you see as a need, an aspiration. something that you want to achieve, no matter what it is, that's your empty lot. And now we're going to use the power of imagination that was illustrated in this lesson today by grandfather and do what he did. The lesson tells us that grandfather stood in front of his empty lot, and on it he saw a building that he wanted to build. He entered into the naturalness of feeling that it was already done. In his vivid imagination, he claimed it right now. And then this lesson tells us that that desire then took on as a life of its own and manifested and expressed itself and became real on that lot short time after. And so as you stand in front of your empty lot, all you know is that when you open your eyes, not physically in this room, but when you open your spiritual eyes, you will see that on that empty lot is the realization of your desire. The thing that you're praying for shows up as the healing in your body, as the healing in your life, as the answer to your prayer. How is the business of the desire? The desire knows how to fulfill itself. The problem comes with its answer. The sickness comes with its own way for healing. The financial need shows up with its own answer, its own way. I have ways that you know not of. My ways are not your ways. Neither are my thoughts your thoughts, saith the Lord. And so as we go forth from this place, we know that the desire is carrying us through meandering ways, through meandering ideas, through surprises, through rendezvous, through things and ways and stuff that we cannot explain. The desire is fulfilling itself. Desire is manifesting itself. The desire is coming into being. The healing, the answer is coming into being. And so because of that, I am going to learn to shut up and let God do that which only God can do. And Father, Mother God, for this I do give you thanks. Amen.
Amen.
And so it is. Yes. So what did you get out of this? How did it help you? How is it that you're more confused? You say I ain't come back here no more. You know, because he just mean. Okay. Yeah.
When you first started, I was totally lost. I didn't, because I had something else.
Let everybody stop talking.
But as I allowed myself to listen to what it was you had to say, instead of fighting with myself, and it came to be, and I was able to grasp what you're saying, especially when you said on a deeper level.
Yeah.
That's powerful.
Yeah.
Because I've done this. I believe stuff into being.
But that was key.
Right.
Yeah.
The deeper level.
Right.
Yeah. So I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hi, I'm Tessa, and I want to just clarify that I'm understanding the I remember when. So right now, if I deal with relationship and I say, I remember when I was single and I didn't feel that I would ever get married or meet somebody, then I would follow it up even before it happens. I would follow it up with, but now.
Simultaneously.
Was
Same, simultaneously, at the same
same
time.
time, at the same
At
time.
the same time.
Okay, so I remember when I was single and didn't believe I would ever meet my divine soulmate, and now I am in the divine and perfect right
And now,
relation.
that's the conjunction, and now.
Okay.
And now is good. And at the same time, I am now with the right and perfect person in my life. I remember when, and now, or but now. See, simultaneously. Claiming, and that's being in the now with it. I remember when I was sick and going to the doctor for treatment and follow-up, but now I am going to my next appointment for confirmation that it's already done.
Yes.
I have an appointment and schedule for a hip replacement surgery on the 29th of this month. I remember when, but wait a minute. I'm just talking to a person because I'm going to send this to a person tonight who's dealing with this. I remember when. And you know what? I accepted that appointment. Why? Because I believe in the power of God healing through medicine and through surgery and through this and that. I praise God for that. That's a wonderful thing. But it ain't happened yet. I got time.
Right.
I remember when. But I believe that with God, all things are possible. And that it's never too late for God. I can wake up in the morning. You know what? When I get there, I'm going to ask the doctor, would he do another examination, x-ray, and a thorough look before they start their work? Because I remember when. I remember when, but now, I'm well. But now, I remember when I had this problem. But you see, Governor Abbott of Texas, a few years ago, I read this on the internet while preparing for this and doing this, and saw where, I don't know why, just accidentally running stuff like this, commuted the death sentence of a man who was scheduled to be elected, however they put him to death, if they don't do electrocution anymore, whatever they're really going to do. He was scheduled to be put to death a few hours from now. This governor, I don't have the details exactly right, but it was something like he had not ever commuted, because in Texas down there, they don't be letting nobody know death. You're guilty. Either he had never commuted a death, or it had been 10 years or longer since he had commuted a death. See what I'm saying? You're talking about the 29th, and today is or something, but this man just had a couple of hours. But the father pleaded, the father of his child, the victim, he was the prisoner, put him in prison. But the father pleaded for his life. But think of the circumstances now. This man had killed his mother and family and was attempting to kill the father and wasn't successful. The father escaped with his life somehow. The only surviving member of his family, except his son. And yet, he pleaded for the son's death sentence to be commuted, because he was given life. But they hadn't done anything like that. The government didn't believe stuff like that. But he granted it, the father's wish. Just a few hours left. Never too late. I've told you the story about Reverend Shamba, who I used to follow years ago. Shambach, he was the evangelist. He was Pentecostal. He had tents all over the world. And he said he was in the middle of preaching when a lady ran down in this tent protocol, running up to him and interrupted his sermon and said, "You got to help me. You got to help me." Pleaded for the minister to help me. My son is going to be electrocuted tonight at such and such an hour. Or in the morning, something like that. He had a few hours. He stopped and prayed. See, it's number 2. You don't give up. I don't quit. I'm going all the way to the last minute with this doctor, with this whatever situation. Because with the God that I work with, he said that the next morning he got up to go to breakfast. And on the way into the restaurant, there is the newspaper thing, machine or whatever. And the headlines read, "Man's life spared." In just an hour or so before electrocution. So, he said his prayer was, "Holy Ghost, sicken. Holy Ghost, sicken. Sick him. Go get him." You tell the dog, "Sick him, sick him, sick him, go get him." When he said, "Holy Ghost, sicken," sick who? The killer. Because she said, "My son is innocent." He didn't know whether the son was innocent or not. He said, "Holy Ghost, sicken." They got a telephone call into the prison. The men called in and said, "You're about to kill an innocent man. I am the killer. I am the killer. You're about to kill an innocent man. You don't give up on God." One more minute is enough time for God. With that house, that's an eviction. With that no way out, don't know how it's going to happen. You got to stand in front of your empty lot and see that building on that lot coming up in God's own wonderful way, in God's own wonderful time. God don't need your credit report. God don't need your reference. Who is your reference? The Holy Ghost. God sent me. You don't go looking for nothing. You go to where he's guiding. He's showing you the way. You don't find it, it finds you. There's a life in the thing that draws you to it. Now, there's a divine intelligence in everything, animate and inanimate. That thing knows how you draw you to it. You don't go looking, you go finding what's looking for you. Reverse it. You go answering the call of the thing that's calling you. The woman is calling you. The man is calling you. You're just showing up for duty. How you like it?
I wasn't going to share the story, but that's a little bit. Okay. When I came to LA in 2003, my granddaughter was saying, and my friends were saying, "What are you going to do? You've been divorced 22 years, and you're going to have to go to the internet." So I said, "I don't have to worry because, I know men love me." But anyway, I said, I'm putting the past in the past. And I just moved forward. And of course, I went to church. But I met James in February of 2004. We were engaged by May of 2004. And got married in 2005. And it was all God. It was just,
I know. You're continuing to use every day in every way.
You've got to use that with this. You've got to use that with this all through the day. Okay? So let's say it on our way out. Every day, in every way, I